My fellow Liberians, let us be mindful to what we say to one another. Yesterday was my parent. Today is me. Tomorrow may be you. The Liberian conflict keeps going. In 1976, around December, a group of young Liberians founded an organization called the Youth Volunteer Fund Drive Society, YKFDS, of which I was one of the founding members. About January 5th, 1977, we held our first election for the official to lead the day-to-day activity of the organization. Those elected were Richie Donald, President, Bruce Myers, Vice President, James Walkway, General Secretary, and Johnson Jayswen, your obedient servant today, Treasurer. After that election, Mr. James Walkway showed us a newspaper called The Revolution. I'm now entering into politics with a photo of young Liberian based in the United States of America. In that paper was a photo of G. Bacchus Matthew, Sam Jackson, Marcus Dan, Fred Bass, Oscar Queer, and others calling themselves the Progressive Alliance of Liberia. The newly president-elect, Mr. Richard Donner, wanted us to link ourselves with Bob, but that idea was rejected by the member. However, Richard and I managed to join PAR. I made 1977 to the end of 1978, I sold the Revolution newspaper in Monrovia. I delivered this paper to people who people were afraid to deliver it to. I was also a member of the recruiting team of the Progressive Alliance. Earlier in 1979, I became member of the propaganda committee headed by Soiree. In March 1979, I also became member of the Progressive Alliance of Liberian Intelligence. By 1978, the organization power grew beyond our expectations. The membership in each county was in the thousands. As member of the Progressive Alliance Intelligence, I attended many official and covered meetings. On January 1st, 1979, I was approached by one Corporal Ramsey Moore, commonly known as Babi, that a group of soldiers headed by one Major Mose Jebo wanted to talk to me. Around the 5th of January 1979, I met with Major Jebo, Master Sergeant Say, Corporal Moore, and 3 other soldiers to discuss the possibility of a coup. I have 2 to 3 other meetings with this group before my detention on April 14, 1979, during the riot. In early March 1979, we launched what we call Operation Recruit the Nation. The General Coordinator of PAD, Mr. Beacon Carlo, was head of that operation. Mr. Soiree was heading the propaganda committee, and I was head of the security force, the Progressive Alliance Intelligence. The Progressive Alliance was running a dedicated and energetic organization, and we did a good job. We penetrated the government. All leaders of the propaganda committee and members of the intelligence were sent to the county of their origin. I was sent to Greenville, Sino County. Due Nyimpa was coordinator for Sino County. He had a well-organized crusader. I stayed 1 week in Greenville. Why in Greenville? Many appointments were made. Some of those appointments were Speaker Tuan Wule was a speaker. I always see Tuan right on Broad and Gully Street all the time. He's always there. He also is forgotten. He's one of those that spoke for the organization. Between the 20th of March and April 14, 1979, there were a series of meetings at the Lagoon, West Point, Looking Town, at the graveyard on Central Street. In one of the meetings, we concluded that there were going to be a mass demonstration on Black Saturday, April 14, 1979. At that demonstration, I saw police killing Liberians like they were at war. A friend of mine was killed. James Tappe died in my arm, and Arthur Flomo was hit in the leg. I took Arthur to the clinic at BTC. On our way back, I was arrested at the BTC gate and was taken to NSA and later to post-stacking. I was released 2 weeks later. On February 28, 1980, a meeting was held at our office. We concluded that we were going to have a nationwide demonstration on April 14 to celebrate those that died. 1980. If the government would not reduce the price of rice in 72 hours, the Liberian conflict had taken a different turn. President Tolbert was in the muddy water of Liberia new politics, and he was to learn fast how to deal with it. There were a series of meetings between the government, PART, and other notable organizations and personalities. In late 1979, the TWB, having held political control more than 100 years, convened its first open convention in the city of Buchanan, Grand Bassa County, to introduce reform and make the Grand Old Party, TWB, more responsive to the demand of the time. The late president, then standard bearer of the party, asked a team of young party members for a critical analysis of the TWP feature. Honorable George E.S. Boley was a member of that team. I was there as a spy from PAC. In reading their observation, Emmanuel Bird warned that unless the TWP made a fundamental change toward open politics, the Buchanan Congress might prove to be its last. The grand old party had failed to liberalize. The Progressive Alliance of Liberia demanded Tolbert resignation. I was in a thick and thin of that movement. To remove Tolbert from power by all means necessary. In January 1980, I introduced Sergeant Thomas Jayswen to my father. Jayswen was a very good friend of mine. As a matter of fact, we share room together, and the rest is history. In February 1980, I was sent to Sanu County because Dwayne Yepa was in hiding. He ran away from the pressure of the government. We knew that Superintendent Bean was taking Sanu from us. So I took control of Sanu County. On March 7, 1980, Sanu came to a standstill. And on the 14th of March 1980, I was arrested and sent to Monrovia for the punishment of my life. On April 8, 1980, my father, Dr. Cassell, and two other old men came to see me at Postaki, and they told me things would be all right. 4 days after, in the early morning hour of Saturday, April 12, 1980, about 5 months after the TWP was warned not to resist change, the government of Liberia was overthrown by a group of non-commissioned officers of the armed forces of Liberia. It was a bloody coup. The conflict keeps on going the wrong way. A young master sergeant by the name of Samuel K. Doe announced that he had seized power. He named the People Redemption Council. It has PRC as its chairman. In his first broadcast, Master Sergeant Doe told the nation that the government of Liberia is hereby overthrown until corruption stops. He and his men called in some articulated leader of the right, of the radical left in the country to help. They then decreed that all political activity should cease and immediately, with immediate effect, and change. And the government were arrested and charged treason, rampant corruption, misuse of public office, and gross abuse of human rights. On that same day, the TWP-led government was removed. The Masonic crowd of Liberia was put at random. Big mistake. Most importantly, the young men of the AFL took control of the command structure of the army. 1 week later, an American specialist later observed that never before had such a group of men so young in age, so inexperienced and unfamiliar with government and the opportunity it brings, seize power so completely. It was believed that at the dismay of the establishment of the taking over of state power by the natives, the political problem of Liberia had been solved. Wrong. Soon after the overthrow, it became evident that corruption and excessive greed, deceit, hypocrisy, and wickedness were not unique tendencies of the whole other. So the Liberian conflict keeps going. We have not yet found an acceptable replacement to the whole other. Less than a year after the overthrow of the government, the Progressive Alliance, who had clamored so much for social, political, and economic change, began to openly exhibit their differences. Their inner contradictions were sharpened by the discretion of the TWP and external enemy against whom they were perceived to be united. Meanwhile, the whole other began to slowly find its way back into the wheel of power. On January 1st, 1981, I ran into complications with Chairman Doe, and I have to leave for the United States of America on June 3rd, 1981. By mid-1982, an unusual political phenomenon obtained in the U.S. Some of the progressive on the radical left and some members of the whole other on the extreme right of the spectrum found a common ground to move against President Doe. I was part of that movement. I was also a member of the Lord movement to move on Taylor. And so the conflict continued. Now let us discuss the prospect for a lasting solution to our conflict. On January 20th, 2006, I wrote the President, Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, thanking her for her victory and the many obstacles of Liberia to move forward and to see doing what has been done for the past century. On October 15, 2007 and January 9, 2008, I wrote her again, telling her the problem facing our nation. I wish to read that letter to this member, to the TRC. Her Excellency, Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, President, Republic of Liberia, Executive Mansion, Monrovia, Liberia, July 9, 1980. Dear Madam President, it is a privilege and honor to register my thanks and appreciation to you, to your administration, for the upward direction in which Liberia is headed. This is my corresponding. I hope many facets of the Liberian society that are the hallmark of corruption which we see today. one of which is the proliferation of sectorial cities across the country. To illustrate my point, permit me to lay out the premise of the letter and discuss the definition of the following. Village. Village, a group of houses forming a community usually smaller than a town. 2. Town. Building, creating a hamlet larger than a village and smaller than a city. City. A large, important town, a metropolitan, i.e. Monrovia, Kakata, Greenville, Banga, to name. In the interest of transparency, during this budget hearing, legislature, ministries and agencies were requested to defend their allotment. Among them was the Minister of Internal Affairs. In his ministry budget, a gross political disadvantage was on display. Nimba County, as we all know, Nimba County is one of the populated counties in the Republic. Nimba County, with 8 times the population of Grand Coup, was allocated 2/3 of the budget of Grand Coup. Challenged by a lawmaker to explain this huge discrepancy, he responded that the display is due to the number of statutory districts. He further stated that to every city, there are approximately 16 employees. Now, Grand Coup had more than 30 cities, and those 30 cities comprises of 400 plus employees. But mind you, if you go to some of these cities, you will look for them like I did. Madam President, while downsizing a bloated government of a nation emerging from elected or civil conflict is admirable. More admirable is the reduction of those cities. This will go a long way in fighting our enemy, corruption. You see, what I'm trying to say here is, we say we're fighting corruption. The way we should have fought corruption is not the way we're going about it. All of the people that you are creating, that the God of the committee that the government is creating, they forget to know that they are creating more problems. Now, look at our security apparatus. It's very bleak. We went so far, I can challenge the security force of the Republic. I can give them better information than they can get the government. If you would dismiss men like Reed, don't you know Reed is one of the forensic experts we have in this Republic? If you remove him, who will you put there? If you will remove men like Wambe Sankali. This man got the whole of Monrovia in his hand, in his palm. If you remove him, do you know what you're heading to? The security system is bleak. Everybody now in the security apparatus wants something for themselves. If you get in the taxi now, and the policeman having to stop that taxi on Broad Street because he or she is moving the wrong direction, he will pay that policeman $5 and that taxi will go. That's not the way we should go about it. We in this country have never put the right man in the right place. We have never utilized our manpower resources and our natural resources as we should have. A trained person is often put in a place where he does not have the latitude to apply his or her resources. Those are the two basic problems, and the president is not addressing them. More than that, I am convinced that the forces of the good and evil are about to clash again in Liberia. There are people who cannot tolerate the present economic development plan of the government. Yes, it is true. The president is loved by the international community of nations. Let her do the right thing for our people. Mama, Papa is not coming home. Who the Mama is? Mama, please tell Papa to come home. May God bless Liberia. Thank you.
Jayswen?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming once again to throw light, especially on the history that you gave us today on Liberia. The role you saw President Tolbert play, and all of the other roles that you were able to elaborate on today. We say thank you. As you were talking, we, the commissioners, were listening to you, but maybe we did not understand certain things you said. And so this is the time now I will ask you a few questions to get clarification. I hope your answers will be short, because we have someone else who should have been here by 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
And so we hope that will be short enough to finish on time so that we can hear that other person. We'll start with Commissioner Corner, and we'll ask Commissioner Corner each commissioner to please ask all the questions. And so we ask you to please write them down as they ask, then you'll be able to answer the questions when they finish. Commissioner Corner.
Thank you very much. My first question is, did you remember ever being interviewed with TRC inquiry section at any time before you come in here?
Yes, I have an interview at the office there with, I think 4 or 5 gentlemen.
Mr. Jayswen, can you please jot down his question so that when he finishes, then we can start to answer?
Okay.
We gather from that document that this must talk about riot
Yeah.
or the increase of the price of rice was disclosed by you, and that you got the copy from Minister Chinwe. We want to know what was your relationship with Mr. Chinwe to the extent that she has to give you copy of the report she has submitted to the president. That is the second question. Do we also understand you to have said that you and your father play a major role in planning and executing the Overthrew coup, first recruiting, planning and executing Overthrew coup, and if so, what was your rationale of being so active in the recruitment, planning, and execution of the Overthrew? Then, we are dream for democracy, for justice, for equal treatment. We realized after the killing of President Tolbert, the tag team men executed, and all those who died during the Overthrew coup. And if yes, what do you stand today, taking into consideration of the administrative records and happenings of the late President Tolbert, though as PRC, though as NPFL-led government head, Charles Taylors, etc., etc. Do you see that those things for which you advocated, participated, and acted the overthrow of President Doe and of President Tolbert, those things for which you were against are now clear of the political arena in Liberia? Thank you.
Well, let me answer your question this way. The Chinese people supported each new ruler because of what they call the mandate of heaven. They also believe that the king and empire were selected by heaven to lead the people. When a ruler control was weak, or if disaster occurred, the people said, the ruler, they will rebel against the ruler. In Liberia, it seemed to me that Liberian government should do more for its suffering people. And they should listen to the people.
The government, as usual, they don't listen to the common people. A new hero need to be born. That was our belief. And Jesus, that was Matthew, was the hero. We follow him, but we were having 3 different branches in that organization. The G that of Matthew was like me or Deacon Carlo. Papa was not going to see the new year of 1980. If Marcos was like Chichipo, Papa was not going to see 1980. Why do I say that? We were pushing for the removal of Tolbert. And that's the truth. I went so far to go to medicine man. And that's true. We are a group, but we respected Marcus Matthew. I can remember when I approached him, he said, Jayswen, that's not the way. And he convinced me. Kankala knew about this plan. You know, Kankala was the brain of power. But all the power lies in the hands of backers. A backer was like me, Tolbert was not going to reach 1980. Now, for the rest of my year, I knew Mrs. Chinaway very well through one Henry Sacco. And I was told to get the annual report of the minister to a tithe office. It didn't take us no time to get that report. And when we got that report, now that I know that report was not to increase the rice price. It was a suggestion to President Tolbert. Part of that report that I can remember was our own rice that we call the country rice should be reduced to I think $10 or between $15 and $10. That was her proposal. But as revolutionaries, we look for a place where we can stand to get people on our side. So the $35 that she proposed for Pusawa not to come in the country is what we published to the people. And so the people bought the idea.
You have not addressed yourself to.
Yeah. No.
What difference did you make now from what Tolbert was overthrown as compared to the regime of Samuel Kanyando as PRC, as NDPL leaders, as well as Mr. Taylor and so forth and so on? Your dream for democracy has been realized?
Like I said in my presentation here, no. We have not found the replacement Yet, we still bickering over the replacement. Presently,
Taking into consideration of what happened, thousands of people were killed. Now, the purpose for which these destructions and anarchies were carried on are yet to be realized. Where do you stand today?
I wish to send a letter to you, then you will know my position. In the letter to the president, I said, the country is heading the right direction. Let me confess something to you before we go. You know, I hated the TRC before because people come here and lie, and you don't question them the right way. I don't know what would be the conclusion of your report. I always sit down by the radio, listen to people that I respect, and I know what some of them did, and they come here and lie. Many of the people that came here, I wish they would tell the Liberian people the part they play. The reason you this story is that now I realize that the position that I was taking was the wrong one. Democracy is not for force. We should not always have in mind of forcing our leader out. Let's go to the ballot box. You see the gun election? I love it. And that's why I took part in the election. You know, I was more than 50 years before I ever voted in my life, besides school activities. And I'm praying to God again this coming election for me to take part again. We are heading the right direction, but it kind of slow for our age. I want to see the that I was dreaming about to come before I die.
Yes. Mr. Witness, thank you for coming to participate in the TRC process and reading your interview that you gave to the TRC Inquiry Unit. You said that you wish to come before the TRC, and you also mentioned that people who came did not tell certain stories correctly. My first question, you mentioned about Chair Chipo, who served as Justice Minister during the 1980 revolution. In your statement, you said that Chair Chipo knew about the killing of the 13 persons, and there were 50 people on the list to be killed. Could you please elaborate on this? That's my first question. Question number 2, you refer to $85,000 US that was given to you by the Libyans, and you brought it to, you told Deacon Kala, who also testified here, but you said he did not elaborate, and you took it to Parker's Matthew, who refused. Could you, and that was also done in the presence that Deacon Kala had knowledge.
because that was done to the three of y'all when he refused in New York and you named the restaurant. Could you please elaborate on that? The first question about Chair Chipo.
Oh, okay.
Chair Chipo,
Yeah.
who testified that he had nothing to do, he had no knowledge of the execution of the 30 men that were put to the poll. In your interview with the TRC Inquiry Unit, you elaborated on it and said that he had knowledge. I can refresh your memory. Did you say so that you were at the mansion when the 13 people were taken there and Chair Chipoki and said they were not ready for the 13 men, they should go back? And what he was trying to tell us at that time, when he claimed that he did not know, we are not ready for them yet, what does this entail? So could you please elaborate if you have knowledge and if you said these statements on an oath?
Yes.
Okay, but they say I should ask all my questions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Chair Chipo with knowledge of the 30 people that were killed and the 50 other names that were on the list, and you say also Deacon Carlo knew about it and why he did not elaborate. The second question is about, you mentioned that you received a check of $85,000 from the Libyans in 1982 to overthrow Samuel Kanyando's regime. And that Deacon Carlo had knowledge of it, and you wonder why he did not express that. And that Barker's Matthew knew about it, but he refused that overthrow, and you all, including you, were mad about that.
Yeah.
Could you please elaborate? Also, you mentioned that the overthrow of the death of Tolbert was inevitable because there were many hands that were in it, including the Lebanese and Dr. Casas that they had meeting to his place, if you recall, and that when you all, the PRC, took over, you all could go to Dr. Casa, anybody who wanted a job, and he would give it. You also, in your interview, mentioned, could you say, I won't give the names, but you mentioned the names of 3 of the 17 men, enlisted men who went into Tolbert's room on that April 12th night. And also, you mentioned the name of one person who even pushed Mrs. Tolbert aside. But you said that they did not say about that. I'm sure you remember who the name of the person who even pushed her aside. In your statement, if you can't remember, I will name it, but could you please remember that? No, I'm not finished with my question. Just write it down. You also stated that lately, when Lord Kim decided to come, you decided to join Lord. You went to their meetings, you got all their codes, and your own blood brother, revealed to the government, I assume the government, Taylor's government, of the involvement alert. Could you name the brother, your own born brother, who revealed the code and told the government what you all were doing? And also, is it true that your brother who later John Taylor was shot, and you came to rescue him, and you too, from what it is, it seems as though you two fought with World War III, and is it true that you two shot someone else? Those are my questions. You could ask those questions, and from your answer, I may be able to ask other questions. And is it true that you said even Chief Tama Taylor was also involved in wanting Taylor, President in Tolbert to be removed? And the last question, you said, is it true that you said that you are part of the militant wing of PAL, and that one man taught you how to make bombs, to fix fire bombs? And on April 14, 1979, that you all threw the first fire bomb, and Sakale, who was the chief bodyguard of Fanny Dempster, called Sonkale, who is still in the police force at this time, was at the side of Fanny Dempster when you all threw the first fire bomb. And then was when Fanny Dempster, the government, called for backup and riot fire police, and they used Uzi firearms at you all. That's my last question. And that although PAL, the leadership of PAL, told you all not to use the bomb, but you all did it on your own. I would like for you to please answer the last question and go further up. Thank you.
The rest riot after the meeting, before the rest riot, we were taught how to make firebomb in West Point. This man was Ghanaian who taught us how to make the bomb. And I don't know if any of you can remember, whenever the police comes, when you see the fire flash on the sidewalk, it was those bombs. If we were going to follow the right procedure, it could have killed the police. But we have only not all of the chemicals were in there, but we have only the kerosene in there. And what we were told to put in there were there, we were going to have more death than the one the police did. Yes, I was part of that. I was the head of the group. We were very many.
And on April 14,
James Tolbert was killed by Fanny Dempster.
we came from the office. When we got to Randall Street,
there was no way. I don't know where the people came from that day. They were coming from everywhere, going to Park office so that we can march to the executive mansion. And the police too were coming from, the entire police force, I believe, in Monrovia were heading toward that direction. It was not only riot police alone. But the thing that blessed us, some of them were members of PAL. And so we were able to rescue Bacchus and the top hurricane. When I left, I went back for me to go back to tell Soiree that where we got a corridor where Bacchus could pass and get out. When I got there, the police were already there. And they started shooting. So we managed to rescue Bacchus and pass through the graveyard and put him in the car, and he was out. And that was my main concern, to get Bacchus out. I knew I gave up my life that day for Bacchus. I wanted Bacchus to get out. I wanted all the hierarchy to get out, because that was my position, to protect them from harm.
the police
I heard some of the power members say, we didn't do nothing, we provoked them. We provoked the police. Some were chopping stones at the police. So when they returned fire, we said we were not going back. And we started going toward them. That's how many people got killed. Those that were smart enough ran away, but there was some crowd. We said 300 people, but after some time, the body I saw, I believe it was more than 300. But we gave that figure 300 because some friend will say, oh, my friend died. Oh, the person died. That's why we gave that figure. But I believe it was more than that. In fact, when we went to the executive mansion, that day, I believe Tolbert was in Neva. We met Honorable Thompson, I believe, was the Minister of Presidential Affairs at that time. At that time, I believe it was either the Ghanaian soldier, but some of those soldiers couldn't speak English. 3 persons died from all that day. The government didn't report that. At the mansion ground, 3 persons died that day. We collected all the school children. Everybody went there. We said we were going to be there until Tolbert came from wheresoever he was to speak to us. But because of the death of 3 persons, that will make us to leave the mansion ground.
And your second question, the other question was learned. Yeah, but
when the coup, when I was approached by Moses Jebo group, the most major Moses Jebo group.
I'm talking about Lord. Jebo was there then.
No. Oh, Lord?
Lord.
Well, I was recruited by Joe Wallet in the state. And when he recruited me, I was sent to Liberia. When I came, I recruited some people to go to Guinea. I even recruited my own brother, but he fooled me. When I was coming, he requested money from Lord. And the money was sent by Francis Nyimpa. He was then the chief recruitment for Lord. At that time, it was not Lord. And I was recruited by Joe Wally. Yes. And when I came, we had a first meeting in Abidjan. From there, I went to Conakry. I went back to Abidjan. And I was still communicating with my brother. And whenever he wanted anything from Lord was sending. On one occasion, I sent $3,500 signed by me to send to Liberia for the group to leave from Liberia to Guinea. And he received it. But when I landed here, Minister Bama, to my utmost surprise, sent somebody to me. And the exact communication that I gave my brother in my own writing was presented to me. Right there, I knew I was in trouble. And I was arrested. When I was arrested, I used my father always on my side. He knew Taylor very well. and I got out of that trouble. But all my documents were seized, and I couldn't leave the country. And that's how Taylor and myself and Lloyd, that's how we ended up to. And World War II, my brother Buddy Guy, the World War II, I received a call that Monrovia was going to be overrun, and so I went across to take my brother children out of Wito, a place all the way to how do you call it, to a farm. That's where we have our house at. So I went there to get everybody out. I knew when they said overrun, I knew the kind of forces they were coming with, because I have seen some of the equipment that they have. And bullet doesn't pick and choose. So I went there to get my family, my brother family out. When I got there, my brother told them not to leave. So I told his wife stayed there. I told his wife, I said, if you don't leave from here with the children, I'll give you the next 2 hours, you will die. And that woman heard me and left. My brother pissed off with me why I had to tell a secret to a lady. I said, it's no more secret. The war is between our legs. It's no more secret. And he picked up his gun. When he was going, I told him, don't go. You don't have the kind of arm that the people that come in have. Don't go. And he refused. He went. In the morning, about 8 o'clock, his bodyguard came to me that your brother is dead. I said, I don't have the feeling. If my brother died, I would know. He said, even though he's breathing, but he's dead. And so I picked up my arm. I went to Nyeten. When I went there, Nyeten said, well, your brother is an army man. You're not an army man. When he died, I had business. And I went to Bulldog. I said, help me. I need some arm. I need to go get him up. Even if he died, I want to bring his body home. And Bulldog helped me. He's the one that gave me 4 men plus the 50 caliber, and we started moving toward point 4. And all the damage that was done in point 4, that were done by the Liberian army. It was not the rebel. At that time, they had nothing but AK. We the one were using all the BB guns. God may have it, my brother was still alive, and we went there and cut all the wires, and I took him to JFK. When we got to JFK, there was no doctor. So I went straight to Catholic Hospital. I knew Dr. Reed, and I told him, and Dr. Reed put me on bed. While we were there, former Speaker Hill and my brother were in the same room, in the private room. 2 of them were in the same room. And my brother told me that day that he had a dream that people were coming to kill him. That same day, former Speaker Hill died.
Sammy Hill, did he die naturally or they killed him?
No, he died naturally. He was sick when they brought him there. At that time, almost all the hospitals in the country there were no bed. But because Dr. Reed knew me, and he was chief medical doctor at Catholic, he put my brother on bed that day. And my brother was badly wounded. Dr. Reed told me he needed blood. We managed to give my brother blood. At one time, he needed some more blood. But Dr. Reed told me, if we take one more pint of blood from you, your brother will live and you will die because you don't have blood you yourself. And I called my friend, Rana Cooper. I said, Rana, my brother is at the point of death. Help me. He said, well, the only thing I can do, if you found a way to bring him to Firestone, we can go to Dr. Grisby. He can help us. Robertsfield sent the ambulance for my brother. And the Catholic hospital refused to turn him over because I think it was a policy or something like that. But one smart thing that we did, we didn't use my brother's name. They used my name. When my nephew took my brother there, they used my name. If you check the Catholic record, it was Jayswen name that was there. Now Apollo Jayswen. So they refused because it was not my brother's name. You know, all kinds of technicality that they were having. And we had to pay $58,000 that day.
Liberian or US?
Liberian dollar. $58,000 we paid that day because they are opening already. Yeah, we got to buy calamity stop bag, you know, all of the other medicine before they can hook him back on to send him to Firestone. And we carry him to Firestone. And today my brother is alive. I'm grateful to Rana Cooper for that.
Which Rana Cooper, the light-skinned Rana Cooper or the dark one?
The light-skinned one, the one that was the managing director for Rabat International Airport.
And who's from MPP, eh?
No, I don't know what faction he was for. I was not here during the war.
Could you just answer my next question? Did you kill anyone during the war within that period? Going to get your brother from 12 Farm, going to the hospital, going to Firestone, during the recovery of World War II? You honor oath and you came to speak the truth. Did you?
Oh yeah, there was big firing. One person died from my group. And before going there, we passed by somebody, and I believe it was us that did that damage.
The next question.
That was, the next one was, Taylor?
The $85,000 that the Libyan government gave you to overthrow Samuel K. Doe in 1980.
Mr. Booker Robert was sent to the United States as second secretary to the consulate. I knew Booker Robert well. He was the assistant secretary for power. And we met a group, and that group introduced us to one trolley, you're Libyan. And we went to the consulate. We explained, because at that time we're saying I died. And he heard me because we're saying play a major role in the coup. They heard me. And when we're saying died, President Doe called me back to Liberia so that I can work. I told him no. And when we said that, I turned against Doe. Even though on January 1st, 1981, the reason why I remember the day is we were to go and have a party at Matali. There were nursing Doe, the first lady, moved to. So we were going there to have a party. And Wesen stated that Sergeant, you were talking to Doden. Sergeant, remember, I'm on the floor. And when the general is speaking, don't talk. It was not though himself that got mad over that idea, but his surrounding got mad over that idea. I served on the advisory board of President Doe. I told him that he was just joking. Those that know Doe, whenever you see him take off his glasses, he used to smoke wisdom. Whenever you see him take off his glasses and clean it, he will get some bad decision. Whenever you take off the glasses and want to clean it, or grab it, the cigarette, and light it, you better get in front of him. And that day, I was told that if I don't get in front of him, I was going to go to Liberia. And I told him he couldn't send me to Liberia because I know how he got to be the president. He got offended about that statement. And that's how I got out of PRC. January 1st, 1981, I was fired.
$85,000.
Because of that, I started making negotiation how to pay back the debt of my friend and for removing me from my post. Poka Rabo and myself, we met one trolley. He was the second secretary to the consulate of the Liberian house in New York. And we got acquainted. And they collected our passports and told us to come back. When we came back, a check of $85,000 was given to us. It was Poka Robert and myself, and I called backers. I told backers, this was the situation. He said, Jayswen, even when power, really power, when we were doing the recruitment, I told you, war was not the right thing. Your father told me, if I would not overthrow, I would not be president. And I told him, if I would not be president, let it be, but we would not use bombs to go to the mansion. And you come in here again with that kind of idea, Kankalo was there. He called us in a restaurant by the name of Dragon in Chinatown in New York City. So I went and told Khan. But by that time, the government of Liberia knew what was going on because there was a girl by the name of Barbara and one somewhere, I think her name is one somewhere girl, they work at the consulate.
Vivian?
No, not Vivian. She's from the southeastern.
Okay, go ahead.
We left what we were doing on the computer, and this girl found it and informed the government. So when the secret leaked out, they sent to arrest Poka and myself. They changed Poka's position to come to Liberia, but we knew what the government was about, so we refused to come. They were sending me to Guinea as ambassador. That the letter I received, and Poka was going to Sierra Leone. Comfort. Their name is Comfort Swambi. I think she still works for the consulate. And when we got this news, we refused to come back to Liberia. So the $85,000 were not utilized. But still, 1985, Kyonga came in and we met in Philadelphia. Started the whole thing all over again. And he gave the whole story. And I told you, well, war would not be the right thing. Coup is better. But they were preaching war. And I told them, no, war will cost a lot. We should have a coup. Coup will cost less, and there will be less death. When we were coming, I started to Amsterdam. I called here to see how the ground was. I asked for Joe Wally. They are not found where Joe Wally was. Then he called me. When I was in Brussels, he called me and said, well, he called me from Sherlin that they were ready and I should come and join. I said, well, my father told me that coup will be a failure because where you're coming from was too far. By the time you get to Monrovia, they will catch you people. I got me happy and started to Brussels and went back to New York. I didn't follow them. But that day, Famula, Joe Wally, and one Yempa came along. They were the top. They were heading the overthrow of those to come in 1985.
Which formula are you referring to?
I talk about H. Brahman formula.
Thank you.
That's the formula.
Okay.
And that's how they came. Because I knew what was going to happen. My father told me, and I didn't follow that. Now the involvement of the Lebanese people. It was here, first time I was able to meet up with the Lebanese people that in Dr. Cassell's office. And Jabo with some people who went to Dr. Cassell's office. The reason why I turned away from Jabo was he was delaying too much. And that's how I joined Jayswen. And when I went to Sando, Jayswen came to see me and he brought my father and the other group down. I was in Sando. Then he brought my father down. That's where I was arrested. When they brought me here on the reason why I remember April 8th, that was my daughter's birthday. April 8th. I might miss some of the days, but like January 1st, the reason why I remember January 1st was because of the party that we're going to have. The reason why I remember April 8th is because it's my daughter's birthday. Dr. Cassell, my old man, they came to see me and they told me things were in place and things were going to be all right. After Dr. Cassell treated me They carried me back to post-stacking. I didn't get out until the coup, April 12, 1980 coup, before I came out of jail.
When I came out of jail, it was, I believe it was about 1 week after that, Jayswen took me to the head of the head of state office. That, well, this is Jayswen, and he introduced me to Do. That's the old man's son. He said, oh, is that the old man's son? Let's look for something for him. But before that, on the 5th, let's say, I believe it was on the either the 17th or the 18th, I went to Green Bay and brought a group of youth that I put together called the PRC Youth Wing, to give a petition to the president. And I was the chairman at that time. Panton, I think he's the Secretary General now for LPP. He was then the secretary for the youth wing. He stayed here in Liberia, I believe. The last election I saw him, and he was the secretary. And we presented the petition. The next day, Jayswen carried me to President Doe, and he said, oh, is that the old man's son who gave? Well, saying he was the representative from Sano, let me get representative. And that's how I became PRC special representative. That post was open for the youth. It's the same position now that Honorable Rupert Needle occupies. I was the first. It's the same post that Charles Taylor also carried on. So after that, there was a list of 50 persons to be killed, to be executed. The 50 persons were mainly Americo-Liberians, and they were all top government officials. And when they brought the 13 men at the executive mansion, I was there. And Chipo came in. It was the same day, it was on the 20th. When they brought them there, they killed them on the 22nd, I believe. Either the 21st or the 22nd. I believe, one of the two. But on the 20th, they brought them in. They were waiting for President Doe. And we all went at the back waiting for President Doe, and Chipo came in. What all the asses here for? We ain't ready for them yet. You take them away. And they took them back. The 50 names, they were going to do like every other day or every week execution. But the Americans stepped in. One, Mr. Livingstone, came from the American embassy, either from the American embassy or from America. He came to us. He said that was not democracy. And already the people were already on the land. Then Deacon Carlo ran. He was running to the mansion. I said, what happened? He said, oh, they're killing people on the beach. The exact word from Chipo mouth was, though I say we're going to kill us, let them kill them too.
That was the exact word from his mouth. And people that know Chico, he's not small not to crack. He's very, very hard-headed, and he's wicked. That's why when he said he didn't know that Jayswen died, I didn't believe him one bit. Because he was there and he told us they were not ready for their execution. By the way, look at the decree, decree. Can any of those high school, only 2 of those people were high school graduates. That were Father Vani and Nicholas Podia. Those were the only 2 high school graduates among the whole group. Can they put that kind of statement together? They were cheapo. Who put all the law terms in? There were 3 names that came out when the coup took place. The National Liberian, well, there were 3 names. And Dr. Tipote and Bacchus agreed upon People Redemption Council. And that had the name, the council. It was not those that brought about PRC. They were cheapo. All the law terms you see in the decrees were written by cheapo. And in my statement here, I said they're the one that were dedicated for that martial law. Liberia never experienced anything called coup before. And all the legal terms came from, it was not Doe and all were saying that put all the terms together. So when they said they don't know, this is what I stated in my presentation here, that they all knew.
Who was the one that pushed Mrs. Tolbert aside that night in a room to save her, in essence, to save her, if you know?
According to my information, was saying, Krongpa, Nansen To, where the 3 guys that went there in the presidential residence. Then later, they killed the first 3, Pano killed the first 3 body guys that were to the dome, that were coming. All the boys that went down there, they went there with the protection that was beyond the understanding of any of us here. Nobody could have stopped them until they reached the president. And that was the mission, and they executed it well. No white man killed Tolbert. I was told, but one of those that actually took part into the coup.
He's still alive, right?
He's still alive. He's now in the House of Representatives. He know. Jerry Julie, he one of those. Do you know Jerry Julie is the one that knew the whole map? He and Podia, they know the whole map of the mansion. And Father Bani, 3 of them posted everywhere, all the entries, in case the president wanted to escape. They the one that posed the people there.
Thank you very much. I may ask questions if my other colleagues don't bring up what I want to ask. But my last question, you admitted that during World War III, you did kill certain either residents or citizens of Liberia. What do you have to say? Is there any remorse, any regret, or do you have anything to say to the family that are living and to the Republic of Liberia because it was their citizen or resident?
From the beginning of my testimony, I stated that may the family see reason to forgive us all. I went down there not to fight for Taylor or to fight for Lord. My brother was hit, and as usual, we defend each other. And I was lucky to get the ammunition I needed and the 9 person to follow me to redemption to getting out. And on our way, we did some damage, and some people got killed. One prince, he was an ATU guy who went with me. He got killed too. If he had not gone with me, maybe he would have been alive today. I say sorry to his family. And on our way, whosoever got caught getting my brother out, I say sorry to the family.
Thank you very much, Mr. Swain, for your testimony. I'll be asking you some follow-up questions, and then later on I'll ask you the one I intend to.
I can't get you.
I said thank you very much for your testimony. Now you talk about, this will be a follow-up question to what my colleague just asked. When the 13 men were carried to the executive mansion, the counselor was there at that time. He said that they were not ready for them yet.
Councilor
Chipo was there, and then he said that they were not ready for them yet, so they should carry them back to where they came from.
Yeah.
From that time, a lot of people have come to the commission speaking or testifying on that issue, saying that they never had any knowledge as to what really happened, how they were executed. Only one who took responsibility, which is Dr. Famule. He said that because they were in government at the time and it happened, they didn't resign because it happened, they take responsibility. But other people kept saying that they never had any influence in the PRC to talk to President Doe at the time, not to do things that he wanted to do. What is your take on that? And then another one, no, you can just write it down, then later on you can come back to it. And then on several times you talk to the late Vargas Matthew concerning how to progress in terms of the PAL activity. But he always said that violence was not the answer. He took the other course, said it wouldn't be good. And then your father even said to him, according to you, at one point in time, that if he, Vargas Matthew, don't agree to overthrow, he will not be president. Why did he say that? And then you said something again based on an interview with the inquiry section at the Truth Commission about the 17 enlisted men. Because you have just the 17 enlisted men. You have just added another puzzle to the file. It's because there's 1 million question, who really killed Tolbert and why? You said the 17 enlisted men knew nothing about the execution of Tolbert, about the coup plan. But Colonel Jebo, you knew something about it, and then you met several times at Logantown at the lagoon. Could you please tell us who were present at that meeting in Logantown, some of the members? No, but he won't talk now. Mr. Witness, because of time, and we are saying that we'll appreciate if you can write this question down and later on address yourself to them. If you want me to repeat the question, I will do that.
What about the meeting we have
The meeting at Logantown.
Okay.
Because you talk about the initial plan to overthrow the coup. Where we all know that the 17 enlisted men.
Most of the meeting we had were power meeting at the lagoon and the other places were power meeting. The meeting that I have with Jebo was at Popo Beach. That's where we met at Popo Beach, almost second to the last. That's where we had a meeting here. And on 2 or 3 different times we went there. But at that time, remember, OAU was coming to Liberia.
Excuse me, please, I'm not cutting you off, but I'll be glad that if you write this question down, at the end, you answer them one by one. No? The Baka status.
Okay.
And then your father, he wasn't living in Monrovia at the time. How did your father get involved? And then you talk about Jebo, a military man. Because from previous testimony, we understand that there was a school where Samuel Doe and other military men were attending, where some university professor used to take some hours and then help them in terms of preparing them in terms, education. But then you said Jebo got involved. How did Jebo, a military man, got involved in the planning of this coup? No.
I got to know Jebo through Ramsey Moore. Ramsey Moore was also in the army. Ramsey Moore and myself happened to come from the same area. He knew my father. And so he and Say, Master Sergeant Say, they were the supporter of Jebo. And they the one called me in to make the introduction to my father about their plan and how they plan, how they want it. At one time, I came to understand that Jebo was being tutored by some politician, what to say, but Jebo fear was, remember in 1979, the OAU conference was coming to Liberia, and there were a lot of international security. And so Jebo fear was, he don't want the coup to backfire on him, so he keep playing delay tactic. At one time he said, let everything clear up, then we can move. But by that time, Bako, all the top leaders knew what was going on, even though they were not part of it. But they knew. I told all of them, every information that pertained to the coup, they knew our boy. But how it was going to come is the one they don't know. They knew there was going to be a coup. Even when we were in jail, we were told on April 8th that we were going to be killed and Tolbert were going to leave the country, but at the airport, he was going to be executed, and some people were going to take over. We knew it. And there's no way for Tolbert to escape it. There was no way. He was already caught. There's no way he was going to escape it. The Jabo meeting that we have, like I was saying, he keep playing delay tactic because there were international security from all over. If you remember, if men like Kaunda, you got all the way back president in the committee, you know, the American security we are having here, and that was Jabo fear. But we were pushing Jabo so that when he take over, OAU can come to Liberia. And every time I told Bacchus, I said, oh, this is the situation. Even before you were arrested, Oscar Kuya sent for him, sent for the old man. He didn't mention the old man's name. I listened to his testimony. He didn't mention his name. He was the father of power. My father was the father of power. Everything they wanted to do, he advised them.
Never talk about the 13 enlisted men. You said that when the councillor Chipo told them to go back that day, and then later on, the 21st or the 22nd, they were killed. But the other people are saying that they never had any influence over the PRC. And at any point in time, did you talk to the former president?
Well, let me say that there's a difference between influence and knowledge. Did they say they never told the people not to kill? Is that what you're trying to say? I would say no, because I was there. I'm not asking, I was there. When they brought them, Chipo came in last. When Chipo came, he said, why all these guys, what all these asses doing here? We ready for them, you take them away from here. We ready for them. So why would he say he didn't know what was going to happen to them? He knew. But the follow-up of all of this Blackman role is after everything was over, Baka became minister, Toh became president, and everybody had their position. We forgot to know that there were people that fought the Tolbert government. And one of them was my father. And so when the old man went there, I went with him. They said, well, let name the unknown soldier. And that's how they came up with the name unknown soldier. My father was. So he was the unknown soldier. What I'm saying here is for influencing the PRC, say, well, don't do that, doesn't mean that you don't know what was going to happen. They knew, we all knew what was going to happen. There were 50 men. When I got on the advisory board, one Mr. Finley, short, bright lady, that was the wife of Honorable Joseph Finley. I don't know how he managed to get my name. I went to her house in Single, all the way to Overthrew there. That's where they were living. Under their house, you know, it's the upstairs house, but under here, no, it's sitting on a pillow. That's where she was living. That's where she took me here and begged me. My son, they said, you know do well. My husband, they sent my husband to Liberia. I think she stayed alive. She can attest to this statement. And Larry Botti and myself, I went to Larry Botti. I said, this is a situation. There's a lady just walked to me. She said she's Mrs. Finley. Let's go to her house. Let her explain her story. The next day, we went to Mrs. Finley's house, and she begged for her husband. She even gave me a blanket to carry to her husband. That same day, Kwewongba and myself went to Liberia to carry a blanket to her husband. And I carried that blanket. When I got there, I saw the people. I came by and told President Doe, listen, these people can't be in that kind of place. These are all government officials, and the way they're looking down there, please get them out. And that's how they got from there. Among them was Old Monkey. Old Monkey had a child by my wife. So she too got in and convinced me to get Lawrence Monkey out. Josephine was there too. That's the two names I can actually remember because of the connection between them and myself. You know, the wife of Honorable Finley and my wife to Honorable Morgan. And that same day, I think it was the following day, Japa took the helicopter and went for them. I think he brought about 5 of them. I don't know how the other rest came out. But all of them were going to be killed one at a time. We all knew it. So nobody should tell me and say, oh, we didn't know. If you say, well, we couldn't convince them, I would listen. But we all knew.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay, the first one has to do with the situation of Mr. Charles Taylor. I wanted to know, was there any link between Charles Taylor and the so-called militant wing of the PAL/PPP from the time of 79?
Okay.
Or you want me to go through them and then you answer? They're already in front of you. Okay, the second one, I'm concerned as to why prominent Lebanese who lived in this society and developed their wealth and foundation here over many years would now be named by you as people who will be financing the overthrow of Tolbert. So I would like for you to please elaborate whether you know of any motive or reason that they would have had to support all of you. One thing I do notice, there seems to be the linkage between the so-called left wing and the right wing issue. And it seemed that Tolbert may have been moving towards the left side at a time where the Cold War was already very hot in the world.
So, you know, this could have been a link, but I would like for you to give me your opinion, please. Number 3, why was Doe, in your opinion, given the power after the sweat and sacrifice had been made by Kuampa and Jayswen? So I'm concerned, you know, as to why he rose up, because we heard that he may have been even outside in the background and not really someone prominent. So that's a point of concern. Number 4, you did talk about the $85,000, but at the end, I would just like to know what really happened to that money. Did you just use it yourself and forgot about the whole thing, or was it invested into anything else? I noticed you mentioned something about another coup was being planned by you all in America while the Kuampa coup was under planning. So was it used to this, and what was that other coup that you were talking about? That point I didn't put in my question, but you can just add it there on the side. What was that other coup idea? On page 14 of your testimony. Then number 5, why, in your opinion, did the Liberians support a coup attempt on Doe before Kuampa's death? We were of the opinion that maybe Kuampa's death stimulated the Liberians to get involved in the process, since he was someone they respected. But here we're finding from your testimony that they were already involved in the process before Kuampa died. In other words, they supported him. So what was the reason you think that the Liberians had this kind of involvement at such an early stage from 1982? Okay. The next, number 6. Were you in any way involved in the coup situation that was headed by Charles Taylor as part of your onward desire to get even with Doe? I just want to know this point. Number 7. Did you fight? Whose side were you fighting on while you were attempting to save your brother? I wasn't clear on that. Was it Lurd's side? That would have been complicated. So it seemed that you were fighting on the side of the government, even though you were a supporter of Lurd. So could you clarify that point, please? And number 8, could there have been a link with Libya and Jayswen to support the death of Tolbert at the very early stage? Because we see that Jayswen, from your testimony, was the key man in that militant group. And there were sort of a right-wing militant and a left-wing. The right wing centered on Jebo, who was too slow, and then the fast and strong one centered on Jayswen. But now I'm concerned, did the Libyans support you all from that point on, or was their support only came in later? Because you mentioned that they were upset about Jayswen's death. So it means that they must have been already supporting him from a beginning point. I'm trying to understand, where did this desire to overthrow Tolbert come from the point of view of the financial support, particularly? Was it just this Lebanese group giving you cash, or were you getting cash also from Libya even at that time? Those are my questions. Thank you.
When I was told the plan was already imaged by Jebo and his group, and they were being financed by the Lebanese committee. Now remember, at that time, the so-called Cold War was hot at that time, and people were grabbing country here and there. Tolbert, during his early stage, he brought the USSR, the Russian embassy. And when that came in, the American didn't like that idea. A friendly country like Liberia to have the Russian embassy here. And that part of that prompted some of the Russian to start getting money out. I believe either the Russian or the American passed through the Lebanese to support. I can remember when I was going to call my father, they chartered the plane to my town, to where the plane was in Japuken. My father's town is about an hour walk. And when we landed, the plane waited for us. Allah was one Reverend Call. He was the missionaries here. And he the one that they used to transport my father and those that were going to call him. And every time we always charter the plane. Either we Yeswa or we use the army plane. One Japa, he was Lieutenant Colonel, he was a pilot, and one Mason, I think it's Professor Du Mason's brother. He was then pilot at that time. We used him on 2 occasions that I can remember.
So, which question are you connecting to, please?
Okay, I'm about
1979, you know, the first one that I knew about. But because Jebo was wasting time, Dr. Cassell, Harry Johnson, that's the first time me seeing Harry Johnson. And I met Harry Johnson, was sent, after I introduced, was sent to my father, and they sent me to go. Men were sent, Dr. Cassell, and 2 other. One Haddad, not this one, but that man was older man. You know, he was in our meeting, right on Ronald Street. There were Dr. Cassell office for us. And we went there and we called Reverend Call. Then he said, no, we can't use the missionary this time, we got to use Japa. And I think they said Japa was going somewhere else, and we used one missing. He was then lieutenant, and we took off from there and went for my father. And at that meeting, it was concluded that right after OAU, then Jabo was going to take go ahead with a coup. But still, he didn't. And when I told Wesson, he embraced it, and we went down the hall. That's where we had the meeting at. I met Wesson. We called it Robito at that time. We went there and we had a meeting, and where they call Redemption Road, there was one leg bar there. We went there, and I left for Sando that day. When I left, it didn't take long. I was arrested. I didn't see my father until on the 8th of April, where he came with Dr. Cassell at that time. Dr. Cassell used to go to the prison compound and carry food for us. And he brought, that's the only way we could eat anything. The whole while we were there, they used to give us pig feet, the red oil or rice. But because of the punishment, none of the things were tasting good in our mouth. The kind of severe punishment that we took. Dr. Cassell will come with, sometimes he will bring coffee He will bring bread with sardine, and he will take one keeper at the prison compound there. He was then the commander for Postaki. When we all saw, he will give him some money. Then he will call the person, he will give him a little bit. I don't know how much he will give him, but he will give him money. Then they will call you outside. And when you look bad off, they will take you to the hospital. When they call, I was the first that came out, then later they called Kankalo, and they took Kankalo to the hospital. And they took me to the clinic. One Dr. Tue, he was there at Soko, that's why they carried me. Dr. Kassel was very helpful to us, all the PAR members. But I don't know why they said they don't know what was going on. If they said, if Baka said, well, I refuse, I hope you were alive to tell his side of the story. He refused all the time, every time we approach him on that issue.
So in summary, you're saying with regard to question 2, that you're not so sure about the Lebanese, but you know that it had to do with funding that came from both America and the USSR towards getting rid of Tolbert. So somehow they both were not satisfied with him, even though he made that kind of pro-leftist move.
Right.
Okay, and they used them as the mediator.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. So number 3 now, why was Doe given the power instead of Kuampa or Wisdom?
After all of that, giving all the necessary material to Friday and the group, of the meeting. I knew only after the coup. But then I was told by Podia that after the thing happened, after they killed Tolbert, Jayswen left and have to go to a man who was sitting to tell, I tell you, he was the medicine man who was sitting to tell him, and when he was there, they said, well, we got to go and start naming. When he got there, they were making all the preparation. He said, no, it can't be. I am the head of state. And confusion broke out. When the confusion broke out, that's how all the other, they were not 17, they were about, I think, 8 or 9 persons. They were not 17, that I know of. Our jury was saying, Aborto, Jayswen, my cousin, Podia, Falabani, Johnson, and Henry Zuo. Henry Zuo is the one that brought Peno in, and Jayswen brought in Polly. That's the group I know. I don't know about Swan Dixon, all the other group, I don't know nothing about them. And after that, there was confusion. That's what I was told. That was getting us out of jail took almost daylight before they took us out. Because they were fighting over who to be and what to say, what not to say. And they sent for Sawyer, they sent for, after we came from jail, they sent for Sawyer or Dr. Tipote and the other Tap to name the junta, the name they have. But before that, they compromised that St. Joe was a high-ranking officer he should be, and Western should be the vice head of state. But mind you, all those that know the PRC member, Western were powerful more than Doe. Western and Kurumba were powerful more than Doe. They didn't have respect for Doe. Why do I say that? The way sometimes when we go to meeting, they can talk to him. Oh wait, man. You know, they can sometimes cut him off. And people around Doe now start telling him, look, hey, you're the head of state. I can remember on Armed Forces Day, I have left the council then, and was saying to those so long, he's the vice head of state, and general, Doe will never be a general. Doe was always master sergeant. And that confusion grew to what they call, was saying want to overthrow Doe. That's the main conflict between he and Doe.
I see, thank you. Could there have been a what they call a leaning of more than one ethnic group in that 12 or 15 group member, and it was sort of like a voting process that led them to support Doe, in the sense that there were more crowns in there than other crews or Liberians, etc.?
Let me tell you something. The people that were in that group were all from the southeastern region, very few from Nimba. And the only person I know of that from Lofa was Koli. So if there were any voting, it was just not Western town to be head of state, and he wanted to force it. And that's where the whole confusion came about. And after those started getting information here and there, he became wise to becoming president.
Thank you. The fourth one, what happened to the 85,000?
The money was a check that was given to us, and after the secret leak out, we were, you know, our passport, everything was with them. We were told to bring the check. At that time, Doe and the Libya government were no more in good shape again. They were no more because the secret, Doe knew what the Libyan government was trying to do. As a matter of fact, before the Americans built the barrack, Libya wanted to build it. But the American came in quick. The BTC barrack. American came in, Libya was the first. But the American cut them off right away. And so Western was labeled as a communist supporter.
So in essence, you're saying that the check was canceled?
Check was canceled.
Okay.
Before our passport was returned.
Okay.
Then from there, they said the only way, unless we leave America to go to Libya, that's the only way. And when I told Carlo got pissed off over the idea. When I told Carlo about that money, he got pissed. He was mad with me like he was not my friend. And Carlo and myself are very close friends.
Okay, thank you. Next, number 5. Why do you think the Liberians supported a coup attempt against Doe before Kuwampa's death? Meaning, what was their benefit? Why would they get involved? What fish they had to fry, as you would say,
Okay.
in that situation?
Before Armed Forces Day 1981, there was a coup attempt. And Kuwampa, one of Kuwampa, either his brother, one of his relatives, called Say was part of that conflict. Nobody knew our boy. And he was arrested and executed.
Whose brother? Sorry.
I think your brother of Kuwampa, his name is Say, I can remember, he was in the army too. And Kuwampa name was mentioned. And so this Kuwampa said, though I convinced the council for you to be chairman and you killed my brother, he said, no, I don't know. It is Jayswen that gave the order. And that argument is because of that argument, they wanted Kuwampa to leave as commanding general and go to the capital. And he refused because of the death of his brother. Today, nobody knows who gave that order. And that what prompted the Nimadian, Henry, or Kuwampa. There was another Nimba guy, Henry Zuo. But the older guy, I just forgot his name. He was lieutenant. Jeffrey Badu was part of the Jeffrey Badu was brought in by Henry Zuo. Jeffrey Badu was one. Okay, that was his name I was looking for. That's the ninth person. Jeffrey Badu, yeah. And when this guy died, the Nimadian in the council didn't like the idea.
That coup that we don't seem to have in the history so much of 1981, what month do you think that was?
1981.
What month do you think that happened?
I believe it's in February. I have left the council then when this happened.
Okay. And so
on my passport there, I was to leave on February, and because of that same commotion, I was about to leave, and it's in my passport here. When I was leaving, I got connected with Say, and they arrested me. But Jayswen couldn't stand by for me to go to the poll. I want to make sure of the date. That was May 18. It was the same day I was to leave for the United States. So and then the next day, the following day, it happened in the evening when the execution took place. They sent Swan Dixon to have her arrested, and we went into the investigation. While they were doing the investigation at the mansion, they were at BTC killing those guys. 7 guys they killed that day. 7 persons, including the relative of Kwangba.
Do you happen to know the names of those 7 key persons?
Only say alone I can remember.
Okay.
I knew him.
Claire, you believe the day was May 18th, 1981?
Yes.
When this attempt coup came. Was it something that reached national level? It got on the news?
Between right there, only the member knew. And what his name, Kwangba got pissed off over that idea of killing his cousin or either brother. But I know you were related to General Kwangba.
I see. So even though there was a coup on the government that he was a part of, he was still ethnically concerned about his family.
Yeah.
So that could have been the so-called spike that brought the Liberian split in a sense.
Precisely.
Thank you. Okay, next is number 6. Were you in any way involved with Mr. Charles Taylor's coup?
No. Charles Taylor, I met Charles Taylor in New Jersey. In Trenton. I was called by one Jayswen. He used to be one of the announcers at ELWA. Jayswen, he also worked for ELBC. That the people are having meeting. And somebody told me they're looking for your number, but if they call you, I will give your number out. That's how I met Taylor. We went to that meeting. I didn't follow them to Cuba nor to Libya. At that time, I was in school, so I didn't follow them.
But from that meeting, you got to know that Taylor's group was planning to get training in Libya and to attack and invade Liberia.
Yes.
To complete the work that Kuampa had started.
That's correct.
But you decided to focus on your lessons, your school, and not be a part of.
That's correct.
So in essence, your mind towards the fact that those should have been removed was still strong. So you supported the idea indirectly. After you were fired by him in 81.
Yeah, but what happened, though have changed before even the war hit Liberia. He became the kind of leader now that I started to admire because he loves security. And we started planning our own security. I think Minister Buya stated something like that. And all over the country, all the embassies and things, they got their own security there. And Liberia started to do that. And I like that. Ben, he likes sports. And I like sports. And when every time he communicated with me, he always say, my people, I've come to stand for your father, and I'm concerned about this country, but every now and then, he will explain, he knew there was war, and there were people planning to come to hit him. He knew even before they got here. I can remember when I was in the state then when he sent a troop to war Sherlew. To my utmost surprise, he called me that morning. I think he said something, some media man said about his wife in Sherlew, and he didn't like it, and he still take me as his advisor, and he was going to send troops there. And I told him, no, but the man, maybe it's something that he heard, maybe it was that it's bound, but you can't send troops to Sherlew because some media person there insulted your wife. They didn't go there. Even when the war came, before the war came, there were people in Ivory Coast that left from there and told him that, hey, people in Ivory Coast. But Jenkins Scott said no. Nobody was there, and some other people that were connected to Nimba said no, nobody was there. Even one chief, what the chief name, he knew that there were a group of people that were coming to overthrow him. The only mistake though made was he started picking and choosing. And that was my letter to the president. The security, don't push them one side. She's doing it. It's bad for any government. Those started pushing the security one side. He was picking and choosing. And that what brought it downfall.
Okay, thank you. The last two, did you fight on the side of LERD or GOL when you were trying to protect your brother?
I played a game of whenever I'm caught by LERD, I will be called LERD. Whenever I'm caught by Taylor government, I will be called the government forces.
Okay, thank you for your honesty.
To be frank, I wanted my brother out of there.
So you held arms then during that period?
Yes.
Okay.
I was armed. I was even given some additional arm from the American embassy. I will have my own bulletproof. I didn't get it from Taylor. I have my own bulletproof vest.
Now could you talk a little bit about that? Why would they be supporting you?
It was a friend that I knew. He gave me all my 45, but my brother had an arsenal anyway in his house, and we went. It helped us to get all the arms out.
This American friend of yours?
Yes.
Who was working at the embassy at the time?
Yes.
Would you care to give that name, or you want to keep that confidential?
For security reasons, no.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, last one. Could there have been a link with Libya and Jayswen to support the downthrow of Tolbert?
I would say yes.
Could you shed some small light on that for us, based on your knowledge?
Like I said before, Tolbert went to Libya. I believe before OAU came here, and according to reliable sources from that meeting, Tolbert and Gaddafi, they didn't have a cordial relation from that meeting. No, he went there on an official visit, and according to what I learned, they were having a conversation, and certain questions were asked, and he played out. He didn't want to only and solely say, oh, you know, the American didn't let Gaddafi, and he wanted to be friendly with him. But they say I'm of Libya.
I understand. So he was like playing a neutral role, and they wanted him to be strong and positive to them.
One day, oh yeah, but he don't want to.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Jayswen,
Yeah.
I have a few questions, and
Yeah.
like I said, I will ask them. You please jot them down, and then you answer them. The first one has to do with what you said about
The what?
the first one has to do with what you said about Bacchus Matthew being like you, or even Jacob being like you. Tolbert wouldn't have seen
Being a what?
if Bacchus Matthews had been like you, or
Oh,
even
okay.
Jacob had been like you,
Yeah.
Tolbert wouldn't have seen 1980.
Yeah.
I want to know what you mean by that. The
What?
second question, what do you mean by that?
Okay.
The second question is, you said there were some security personnel and even government officials who were part of PAR that gave support to PAR. This is the reason why PAR knew everything that was taking place. So could you please give us the names of some of those people, security members and government officials who were part of PAR? The other one is that you said the government was provoked by members of PAR,
The what?
the police. They were provoked by members of PAR when they came. It was PAR members who were the first to take that homemade gun and bomb to throw into the mist. And this was how the shooting took place. After the Rest riot, there was a committee that was set up. Can you understand me? After the Rest riot, there was a committee that was set up called the Family or so committee, and they placed all the fault at the door of the government. Can we not change that with you, with what you said about you, the PAR members provoking the police officers? Can we now put that blame at the door of PAR, according to you? Yes, you're already down.
Oh.
Then you can do your correction and everything. And then my colleague asked you whether you were a member of MPB. You said no. But then my follow-up question to that is, how did you get support from them to go for your brother if you were not a part of them? What made you so important to them that they would have wanted to give you all the help that you could get to go and get your brother? This is my full question.
Well, let me deal with that part first. As you all know, my brother was one of the strong fighters for Taylor. Yeah, but they got split up down the line, and how they fixed their flower, how they didn't, I don't know the detail of it. But one thing I know, my father told me, that's your little brother. If he can't listen to your advice, but try to always talk to him.
And then you said that in the U.S., you met a lady in Controlling who gave you $85,000 to overthrow
Mr. Charlie.
Charlie.
Yeah.
Okay. My question is, why did the Libyans want to do that? Why? At that time?
Look, the Libyan, if you can remember, the Progressive Alliance were called communists in this country. The government were calling us, we were having communist ideas, and the pressure that were putting on the government, Gaddafi likes that, and we're saying, into Libya, I believe he met with Gaddafi, and so that relationship he wanted it to continue, and turn the People Redemption Council to a communist rule organization. But after the split of Doe and Wesson, he didn't like Doe. an animal. And let me make something clear here. When we threw the firebomb, it was the time we went to the executive mansion. When we did that, Bacchus told us not to do it anymore. And being a militant for the Progressive Alliance, we have it for our own protection. We have them still for our own protection. When we went at the mansion, when we threw away, the police opened up fire. When the first 3 persons died, it was not published. When we went to the mansion, it was not published by anybody. Bacchus talked about it, but nobody could listen. Before even the more than 300 persons that got killed on April 14th, there were 3 other persons that died.
Before the rest riot or after?
Before the rest riot.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that correction. And then my last question is, you talked about your own role in planning a coup against Tolbert, and you talked about the Jebo and some other people to do the coup. But then Jebo was very slow.
Yeah.
And then you went to, I think, Sano or somewhere and was arrested. So my question is, how did these 17 men get involved in the coup, the final coup that took place? Who asked them to be a part of it? Who were the people that were connected between you and them to do this coup in the final analysis?
Anybody that knows me will tell you that Terquia was sent me. We used to have our own room in West Wind before he left and went to the barrack. And every time he comes from Todi, his room was always there. And so that relationship, he was my very good friend. And I told him about the plan. And I told him what my father could do. And he said, take me to your father. He went there, came back, and he started planning his own coup. And I was part of it. I went to a few of the meetings. There were now a large number, very few persons. And according to what I learned, the last meeting they had was at the mansion ground. And it was a time what they're supposed to have carried that nobody would even open their mouth if they climbed the step. And they went there. Remember, at that time, there were Guinean soldiers here. There were Guinean soldiers here. And not of those soldiers could say a thing to West End and the group when they were going. And that's how powerful and that's how they tie everybody up. So there was no way they were going to be a fair coup. They learned that same day after Mo left and went to Jebo. The group, there are another group who planning, but when Tolbert is going to Bento, we better get in there before they guy overtake us. But unfortunately for them, Tolbert, they don't go to Tolbert that day. The ambush were already set for Jebo. And so when Wesen took over, Jabo was a hunted man. And that's how he was hunted. Because he was better off than all of them. The man took real or West Point training. He was a parachuter.
All the plan that you have.
Yes.
From day one. Okay, thank you. So could you please answer the first question? The one that you said something about Tolbert, last seen 1980.
Tolbert what?
Last seen 1980. That he will not see 1980 if you have been jailed.
Oh, what I'm trying to say is that I was already started training. I used to go. Every gun that enter in this, every small arm gun that enter in this country, my father had one. The AK. Anybody who know my father had over more than 25 different guns, and I learned to shoot all of them, from 38 to D12. That's a gun he had. I believe I was not born when he had that gun called D12, and we could all his children could shoot. So I was practicing already, and you know how to play war game and all that, and I was stuck to it. I wanted to see war at that time myself.
The second question, who were those in the security and the government that were part of FAR?
The security? Yeah, I can't get you clear.
Pardon me?
You say what about the security?
Who were they? Who were they? You said you had support from the security.
Oh.
Yeah.
Look, you have security and you have security insecurity. There are security that will not give information out. We got some weak security that can give information out for money. So some of the security, some of them are staying in the force.
Yeah.
They stay in the force, and whenever they will move on us, we will change location. Like, well, we got to get them when they go into have meeting. We will change location. Sometimes at 2 o'clock at night, in the morning, we go have our meeting. It came a time power members used to have their meeting after 12.
Yeah, we want to know who were those who were giving you all of these.
From the SS and everywhere Tolbert went, we knew. Every secret, all the SS, somebody will come from there and tell us. We knew them. Man like Jayswen, he was one of the top secret SS members. Whenever we wanted information from the mansion, we can get it. And then administration, or ministry, any information we wanted, we could get it.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the patience and the time you've given to us today. You've shown light on so many, like my colleague said, so many of the amazing puzzles. By even giving us the fact that people said white people were there who killed Tolbert. We were able to confirm today that they were not there, but it was rather 3 main soldiers who entered the room that Tolbert was in, and that we should get that information from 1 too. So I want to say thank you very much for all you've come here today to reveal to us. You came here to tell us the truth, and I'm sure you are under oath. What you've told us today is the truth. I want to say thank you for coming to share that experience with us.
Yeah.
Your time is finished. We did not get any recommendation from you, and so we would like at this time to know whether you came with any recommendation that could could help us in our work or could help us to make Liberia a better place for all of us.
Okay. One thing I would like to say to the government is that today's security is very bleak. The security system in Liberia now is to its lowered earth. Why do I say that? There are some good security personnel that were kicked out of the force. Let me read. Is one of those that need to go back. He is the forensic expert in Liberia now that will give you a good result. Mele Wongbe Sonkali. He got a hold of Morovia in his palm. You don't have to take those people out. Mele Pockins. Those security personnel. Another thing I see the government doing that is wrong. They could have made Samuka the chief of staff, then making a Nigerian chief of staff. Look, the Liberian people need to build new mansion. The security of our president depends on where he or she lives. The secret of the executive mansion have been leaked out to the entire world. So whenever our president there and anything happen, everybody know where she will go to. So we need a new mansion to be built. The mansion is no more safe. The mansion has turned to a graveyard. A lot of people have been killed in that mansion. We need to revisit the security system of this nation. We have our own ethic here in Liberia. But look at the people that UN are for us. See the policeman with the beard, plenty more than his head. That's not what we were told when we were doing security, or when we were studying security in this country. And so the government need to revisit the security system in this country. All of the security, they want money for themselves now. For instance, national security. You send them out, you give them money, they will not report it. I got a friend who in the police force who was sent to the Southeast. He met 48 cases. 3 was sent to the court. Where are the other 45 cases? Wiped out. The security system is weak. We need to revisit the security system. Call the police that know about security back. Call the army that know about security back. It better we call back General Philip Cameron than to put Nigerian men at the of our national security. No. We got to do better than that. We got to do better than that.
That's all I have to say to the government. Revisit the security system of the country.
Thank you very much. You may leave now. Thank you. You may leave.